So then I had to go to the bank, right? Because there's a check out there right now for a lot of money. It's lost. And they're like, oh, we can help you with this, Mr. Hughes. And know what I said? My first words out of my mouth were, no, you can't, because we all deal with this. You just know you're wasting your time. So I go in the bank. There's a lost check for, I'll tell you, it's for over $10,000 and it's lost. So I tell them the situation. It's to pay another bank. So they're like, we can take care of that for you, Mr. Hughes. And I'm like, all I want is the check canceled. Then I'll write another one. They're like, no problem. That should just take a few minutes. And I go, no, it won't. No, it won't. And she's like, oh, you're so funny. Ah, how's that podcast? And I'm like, I'm not trying to be funny. We all deal with this. And then she goes, you didn't even have to come in the bank. You could have called that customer service number. And I went, ha, ha, ha. And she's like, what? I'm like, are you crazy? I know it's your customer service number, but you deal with the same shit I deal with. And no one wants to get on the line with anyone from customer service. And then she leans in. You're so right, Mr. Hughes. I'm like, of course I am. So then she's like, tap, 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 tap. They get on their keyboard and what's your phone number? Because we want to update it in the system. So I give it, and then this is what you say. Tap, 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 tap. I'm like, how hard is it to put the phone number in? Tap, tap, tap. I'll be right with you. Tap, 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 tap. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I have to get to the certain screen. Tap, 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 tap. So then we get to the business at hand. I want to cancel this check. It's for a lot of money, over 10 J's. It's lost out there somewhere. And she's like, it could be the mail. Because and then she's like giving me the side eye, like, the mail. And I'm like looking at her. I'm like, yeah, but you're the bank. You're both evil. So then, long story short, after her tap, 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 tap. She's like, okay, I see. Tap, tap, tap. Should be just another minute, Mr. Hughes. And then she goes, oh. I go, you can't take care of the situation, right? Just like I said when we started this conversation. She goes, well, it's coming up as fraud in our system. I'm like, fraud? And then she goes, but it's not fraud, but that's how it's labeled in our system because it's a check for another bank. I'm like, oh my God. She goes, wait, give me another minute. She goes, yeah, I don't know what to do. There's nothing I could do. Then she leans over. She goes, I would suggest you go to the other bank. I'm like, oh God, thanks for the suggestion. And the other bank happened to be close. And then I walk in there and same thing. Oh, we can help you with that. I'm like, no, you can't. Give me a minute. Give me a minute as I take a look here at your account. This is your account number, right? Yep. Oh, you know what? It's your address, blah, blah. No, that's not my address. I moved recently. What is your new address? I want to put in the system. I swear this was my day. I'm like, no. She goes, it'll just take a minute. So I give her the address. Same thing. Tap, 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 tap. Long story short, this check is lost. And then she's like, you know what? You seem like a reasonable guy. And I'm like, of course I'm a reasonable guy. And then they're like, I'm going to call. She leans in. I'm going to call the back room of the company. I'm like, ooh, the back room. This should be fun. So I sit at her stupid desk in a glass cubicle. And they call the back room. And you hear like, it's a simple thing. It's a simple thing. It's a simple thing. And they can't do anything about it. So the check is just lost. And so I circle back to the other bank. I'm like, look, I don't care. This is coming up as fraud. Here, you can see this is what, whatever it's called in your checkbook when you write a check and you rip it out and then whatever's left. I'm like, see, look, here's proof. Here's the check that was canceled. Here's the number. Here's the amount. She goes, oh, that's a different check because it's made out to the date on that check is February 25th, 2022. And I went, my bad. So long story short, the reason why the other bank couldn't cash the check that's now lost somewhere in the ether, dummy started writing February 25th when he was supposed to be writing January 25th. So this check doesn't know what to fucking do until the 25th. So then I went online back home on my bank, and it took me 30 seconds to cancel the check. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if you know this, but there's something called online banking. It's amazing.